Welcome back to Africa 54. And now, how about a celebration of Africa in the U.S. Capitol? Here again, Africa 54's Ndemi Mokeliele for details. Ndemi.
Well, thank you, Vincent. As I said, I'll be back. Here I am. Well, African immigrants in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area comprise a sizable chunk of the area's population. And to showcase the African diversity here in the nation's capital, the D.C. Mayor's Office on African Affairs holds an annual celebration. 2013 marks the 4th year of the D.C. Africa Festival, with flyers in English, Amharic, and French reflecting that diversity. Last year, Washington Mayor Vincent Gray proclaimed the month of September as African Heritage Month in D.C., joining other jurisdictions across the country which had already done so. This year's event gives tribute to past and present leaders of the African diaspora as recognition for their unique contribution to the capital. And to tell us more about this, we are joined by Ngozi, Nmezi, the director of the D.C. Mayor's Office on African Affairs, and would say welcome back again to our show, Ngozi.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you. So you've been doing a lot of things since the last time we saw you. This upcoming event, the 4th annual festival, in conjunction with the African Heritage Month, what exactly does it signify?
Well, it's a phenomenal milestone to be able to celebrate September as African Heritage Month here in D.C. and also the 50th anniversary of the Organization of African Unity. So this year, it really just signifies us really kind of moving our event indoors as opposed to having an outdoor format, an outdoor festival, and having a more focused program, and then adding a component on there of our award ceremony to our honor 7 exceptional leaders that have contributed to the social, economic, and just overall general well-being of the African immigrant community in D.C.
Before we talk more about the event itself, so this proclamation by Mayor Gray making D.C. African Heritage Month, at least the month of September, that has already been done, as we mentioned earlier, in other jurisdictions, say Prince George's County in Maryland, right? So why did he decide to proclaim it last year?
Yeah. So I think it's Montgomery County, Maryland, that
Montgomery
actually was
County,
the
right, yes.
first jurisdiction that proclaimed September as African Heritage Month in 2008, if I'm not mistaken. And I think for the mayor, it was really just timely. There's an exponential growth of the African immigrant community in the District of Columbia, and there's just an overall recognition of the cultural, social, and economic contributions of African immigrants in D.C. So it was timely for it to happen last year, and we look forward to continuing to celebrate September as African Heritage Month in D.C.
And Mayor Gray said second to New York, D.C. is the largest population of Africans who live in this particular area, and that he wants to grow it. He wants to be number one. Is there a concerted effort by the mayor and other political officials to actively recruit or attract Africans to this area?
I think really naturally by having an Office on African Affairs and really an institution within government, that will be a natural draw for African immigrants to come into the city. In the greater DC metropolitan area, yes, the African immigrants is second only to the greater New York metropolitan area in the number or the concentration of African immigrants that reside in both of those regions. But by virtue of just having an institution that is set up to actually serve the African immigrant communities in D.C. and ensure their well-being and support the growth of the community, support community development, ensure that they're being actively involved and being civically engaged. I think by just those virtues, by the virtues of our mission, that is really the angle of the mayors to really attract immigrants to the city of D.C. It's an immigrant-friendly city. It's a sanctuary city. So these are really reflected in his policies and his beliefs.
And people actually from the African communities, and you really get to meet the mayor. He seems to, at least from some of the video and the footage and the interviews he's given, he's really engaged. He actually shows up for events like he will on Monday.
Absolutely. He's extremely engaged, very inclusive, and it just speaks to the type of leader that he is. He likes to have his hand on the community and really have a pulse in order to really make sure that his policies and our administration in general just really reflects the pulse of the community. And that's a wonderful segue into the actual program, which is set to take place. It's the 4th annual DC Africa celebration on Monday, September 30th, from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Howard Theater. And we are doing it in conjunction with the DC DC Commission on Arts and Humanities, who I should mention, under the leadership of Lionel Thomas, and also our other major partners that have supported the Office of Human Rights and the Office of Community Affairs. And everyone is in for a wonderful treat.
Yes.
We have an eclectic lineup of artists that are set to perform
from
all across the continent.
Yeah.
We have a wonderful MC.
Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to emceeing that event. Even though,
indeed.
I mean, wow, what a star-studded lineup. But tell me about some of the honorees. You're going to be honoring some African members of the diaspora who've really contributed to the district. Any particular names?
Yeah, so we are honoring 7 exceptional leaders that have contributed to arts, business, Pan-African bridge building, and connecting communities of African descent. Also a public service award, as well as a cultural education leader, and numerous other awards, the other ones that I've actually missed. But these are wonderful, exceptional leaders within our community. You'll have to come to actually find out who these community members are. But we really hand-selected them, and we really wanted to showcase them and show them to the community, just because most of them are really unsung heroes. They come around, they organize communities, they're constantly contributing, and they do so in a very altruistic manner. So we just thought it was so important to recognize them, and what better way to do it, at this 4th annual celebration where we're celebrating 2 joint themes.
And you seem to be a proud African of the diaspora who's really putting this together. Does it give you a sense of satisfaction that you're really able to rally the Africans together?
It absolutely does, and I think it's from inward out, right? So it's not just me. I have a wonderful team in the Office on African Affairs that works very hard and that are very passionate and dedicated and committed to the cause of the African immigrant community here in DC. So it just makes my work all the more fulfilling and a lot easier. But I'm so proud to do the work that I do, and I thank the mayor for the opportunity to serve.
Well, we thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's great. That's Ngozi Nmezi, Director of the DC Mayor's Office on African Affairs, joined us here on Africa 54. Back to you, Vincent.
Thanks a lot. Did I hear that I was being considered for recognition? I don't know.